Hi, welcome to One Eye on the Page. I am Scott. This is Five-Year Battle, Agatha Christie, 1965 through 1970. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, this is the second to last 5-year period of Agatha Christie's career. She only published 5 books during this 5-year period. The lowest she has done, same number that she did, I believe, 1956 through 1960. That time, it was really the worst of the worst. I will have to say there is a novel here that qualifies as possibly her worst book ever, and there is another one that I think has a decent chance, assuming it wins, which it probably will for this period, to going fairly high up, possibly. Book number one, published in 1966, is Third Girl. It is a pro novel. Ariadne Oliver is in it also. This is peak numero uno grumpy pro, and it's not fun. I actually probably dislike the young people in this novel as much as Agatha Christie dislikes the young people in this novel. I'm not fond of Poirot in it either. It's just a drag. A young girl thinks she has committed murder. Poirot helps her with it. It's entirely blah. I mean, it's going to be number one for right now because only book, but it's definitely not going to be number one by the time we're done. It is just not a good book. It's not the worst Poirot novel, but it's close. Top 5 worst Poirot novels, at least, I would say. Book number two, published in 1967, is Endless Night. Endless Night is a non-series book. It is somewhat a mystery, almost a thriller, I would say. A young man, Michael Roger, meets Ellie Goodman, and they have a whirlwind romance. They get married. She is a very rich woman, and he's not very rich, so people are very suspicious of him. Strange things start to happen, and it seems like everything's conspiring to tear the two of them apart. And other stuff happens, and I'm not going to tell you about it, obviously, because you should read this book because it's a very good book. It is atypical for late Christie. I do not know when it was written, but it was published in 1967. It seems like 1930s Christie. It's just extremely good. This is number one right now. Is it going to be number one at the end? Yeah, you bet your ass it is. That there's nothing that's going to knock this off from number one. It's just going to be number one. There's no other option. Of course, I don't remember the rest of the 3 books that remain, except one I remember. But yeah, it's going to be number one. Book number 3 is By the Pricking of My Thumbs. It is a Tommy and Tuppence novel. Tommy and Tuppence at this point. Tommy and Tuppence are different than the other reoccurring characters in that they very visibly age throughout the books. They started out just after World War One. They were in their early 20s, and they have By the Pricking of My Thumbs, and then the next Tommy and Tuppence book, which is Postern of Fate, they are elderly. In Postern of Fate, they are retired. So they are old people, or at my age, older. They are still the same characters, but they're vastly different than when we first met them. They go to visit Tommy's aunt Ada in a nursing home. Tuppence talks to another woman there who tells her very strange things. Aunt Ada dies for natural death. And then they also find out that this woman has disappeared, and they start to look into it. And it's almost, it's a thriller, but I won't say it's a horror novel, but it has, kind of that spookiness to it without it actually being like supernatural or anything. I think it does lose a little bit of steam as the novel goes on. And to be fair, the beginning of the novel is just an amazing start, and it's almost impossible for it not to lose steam as it goes on. But I think this is by far the best Tommy and Tuppence book. And I have said before, Tommy and Tuppence are great characters that do not get the material that matches their characters. This is the closest that we get to it. It's still not that great novel that you could point to, like you can point to with Perot or Miss Marple, but it's still a very good novel. It is going to be number two. I think it's going to stay number two because I know one of the books that follows, and oh yeah, I see the other book that follows. Yeah, it's going to be number two. It's not going to move. Book number four, published in 1969, is Halloween Party, which you is the basis of the movie uh, that Kenneth Branagh does, something haunting in Venice. I guess it is. I don't know. I'm not going to watch it because I think Branagh does a horrible Perot. Nothing about the movies themselves. The character Perot is awful. Sidetrack. Anyways, again, Ariadne Oliver is in here. It's pretty much the same with almost every late Perot. She's a fine character. I don't think she distracts from the novels at all. I think Perot distracts from the novels more than she does. I just think Christie's disdain for Perot is evident in her writing. And Pro doesn't really play too much of a part in here, which again is something that is more common in later books. But a 13-year-old claims she has witnessed a murder before. She is later found drowned. This is at a Halloween party. And the mystery is boring. The characters are boring. Uh, Honestly, it's quite possible that Branagh's movie is more entertaining than this book because this book is not good. I don't really have much more to say about it than that. It's just, yeah, the last 5 or 6 pro novels are just not very good. So it is going to be book number four is going to be book number four for right now. Yeah, it's on the bottom of the list for the moment, but it's not going to stay on the bottom of the list because our final book of 1966 through 1970 is Passenger to Frankfurt. It's a non series novel. It is a book that is often cited as Christie's worst book. Do I claim that it's Christie's worst book? I haven't sat down and ranked all the books, but yeah, it very well could be Christie's worst book. It's a spy novel. It's just more of Christie hating young people. It's ridiculous, completely just she's just throwing stuff at the book that doesn't make any sense. But it's like, yeah, okay, now this is how this is, and it's just it. You know, it's it's oh god, it's so bad. Um, yeah, no, you know what? It is Christie's worst novel. End of statement. It's just the very worst book. Now, I will say, and I do not know this for sure, and I don't know that anybody necessarily knows, but people have done. I don't. think anybody necessarily knows this at all definitively, but people have done uh, statistical analysis of her books and have shown that her later books use far fewer words, and there has been some gossip that she may have been suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's at this stage in her career. I'm not going to debate that or not. I'm just going to look at the books on their basis. On its basis, this is a truly awful book. It just it has all the things I don't like. It's a spy novel. That's and not that I necessarily mind spy novels, but Agatha Christie spy novels, yeah, no good. Uh, Christie grumpy about young people, got that. Um, a relationship that doesn't need to be, and like, who cares? I don't care. Do you care? You don't care. Somebody out there, tell me that this is your favorite Christie book. Tell me and explain why. And if it is, great for you, but you're going to have to tell me your life story that led you to that. So it is the worst book in this 5 year period, the worst book in Christie's publishing career that I have read. Now, again, I said at the beginning of this thing, there are some books that I haven't read. Her autobiography, some of the crime club books that she wrote with other authors. She's written some poetry. I still have to say, oh, and she's written a Christian storybook, which I'm not going over. I still say, I don't even have to read those books. I know they are better than this. That is it for the years 1966 through 1970. This video is so short, which says so much about the quality of these books. But let's go over them. Book number 5 is Passenger to Frankfurt, worst Christie book ever. Book number 4 is Halloween Party, worst Perot book. I don't think so, but it definitely stinks. Uh, Book number 3 is Third Girl, grumpiest Perot book. Grumpy, grumpy, grumpy. Uh, Book number 2, and I've said this before about another ranking, but the top 2 books are up here, and the top 1 book is up there, and the bottom 3 are way down here. So, book number 2, a very good book, by the pricking of my thumbs, the best Tommy and Tuppence book. And book number 1 is Endless Night, just a good Christie book, regardless of year. It has a legitimate reason to be in the final 11. Now, some of these books that I'm ranking in these 5 year periods, these late 5 year periods, I know what 1956 through 1960, the number 1 book there is totally going to be decimated, whatever it goes against. But this one has a chance. So that's 1966 through 1970. We have one more 5 year plus period to go through, and then we will start winnowing down these 11 books until we get the ultimate Agatha Christie book. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment, and I will talk to you next time.